welcome back. We are here with Dr. Carolyn Leaf, communication pathologist, cognitive neuroscientist, worldwide teacher, the author of Switch On Your Brain, Think, Learn, Succeed, Think and Eat Yourself Smart, which we're just huge fans of. And we're talking about trauma and what you can do. And first step I'm hearing, Carolyn, is one, you got to calm yourself down, because if you're physically freaking out, you are not going to make a good decision. The second step is get appropriate information. And I suspect, I don't know this for sure, but I don't trust the medical establishment. I don't. I've been a doctor. I've been a doctor for 40 years.
Too long to know.
And I've been a psychiatrist and making diagnoses based on symptom clusters with no biological data, and then prescribing medication. I'm just not a fan of. And in the pandemic, no one's talking about, at least you don't hear it at the president's briefings or from the CDC, that the United States is 4% of the world's population. It has a third of the COVID cases. Our death rate is completely unacceptable. And everybody's talking about medicine and vaccines, and no one's talking about, well, why is the U.S. hit? It's because we are unhealthy.
Exactly. Thank you, Daniel.
Our incidence of obesity is out of control. Brand new study, 42.4%. That's insane. The incidence of diabetes or pre-diabetes is 50%. Hypertension or pre-hypertension is 60%. No one's talking. We're going to spend these trillions of dollars and really not focus on the underlying cause, which is our immune systems are weak because we are unhealthy as a society. And so to just go, oh, I'm going to stay at home until there's a vaccine is a bit insane, because what we should be doing is really optimizing our health and the health of those we love. Absolutely. And so I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I've been imaging for just about 30 years, and my colleagues go, you shouldn't do that. Why would you want more information? And so it's made me suspicious.
Yeah. As a trauma nurse, I dealt with a lot of gunshot wounds, and bandages only hold so long. So you got to treat the actual wound, or it's not going to hold.
Oh, I totally agree with you. It's going to explode somewhere in you. And I just, when you're saying that, I'm leaping inside with joy, because that's why I love you too, because I agree 100%. If we don't change our internal environments and recognize how important that is, alongside doing all the medical research for antivirals and vaccines, obviously, and finding the best way to reintegrate back into society and keeping our hands washed and social, that we've got to do all those basic things while we've got to build the army tent. You remember the old battles? Build the army tent. You being a nurse, put them in there in the temporary until you can actually sort out the whole issue. Put the Band-Aid on in a temporary state, but we still have to deal with the festering wound. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, is that it's internal environment. And I've been saying this as well for weeks now, that we've got to address, as you talk about the physical, we've got to eat properly and all that. We know that. And this country the modern American diet 60 years ago, when the modern American diet came in, at the same time, the whole psychiatric change happened. So the way people managed mind, the simplest way to explain this is more or less 60 years ago, we started eating processed junk food. And then also at the same time, we started forgetting about the mind, and we started focusing on brain. Now, you and I are totally in love with the brain. I mean, the three of us agree brain, but brain is controlled by the decisions you make with your mind to eat healthy, to exercise, to capture those thoughts, to do the ends, to do all which is mind work. So the brain is reliant on how we actually look after it. And that changed 60 years ago. It was all reduced down to, as you said, Daniel, biological, the biological components. To say my amygdala made me angry is the most stupid thing. Your amygdala can't do anything. Your amygdala just responds to what you are doing. So what are you doing with your internal environment? And that's been a huge part of what I've been trying to help people do, is understand that your mind and the theories I developed, the work that I've done for 38 years, has focused on the non-conscious mind largely. And the non-conscious mind, not subconscious, non-conscious, is 90% of who we are. It's our spiritual nature. It's you. It's your power that you have within you to think and feel and choose. And as you think and feel and choose, that moves through your brain. You can't do that without your brain. Your brain is your responder. It's holding all your thoughts. It's where the memories are. So you've got to have the mind and brain are separate but inseparable. So like you say, we've got to look after our brain. So the mind, you think and feel and choose, and that moves through your brain. Your brain is going to respond. Your body's going to respond. So in other words, we have huge responsibility to make decisions about what I eat and put into my physical brain and my body is going to impact. How I'm thinking while I'm eating is huge. We know the research shows that your digestive system is controlled by your thought process. So if you are, simple example, totally anxious and you're eating that organic farm to table sustainable food, you're eating the right food, but if you're in an anxious state, your pancreas, which is only one part of your digestive system, is not going to secrete all the neuropeptides required for assimilation, simply because your emotional state has affected the functionality. Same thing with your mind. If your mind, the 150 years of integrative medicine has shown us that the mind impacts your stress system and impacts right down to the telomeres. I've been doing research with telomeres, cellular aging, your effectiveness and health of your cells. The way you're thinking is affecting all of that. So the 90% mind stuff is not being addressed sufficiently. What we have, and I listened, especially because of doing this podcast today, I was listening to an interview yesterday by mental health experts who were talking about what is going to be a pandemic in mental health, which I agree, but I think they've approached it wrong. What they want to do is set up a whole lot of more labeling, more medicating, making people ill, giving them a label of illness, and lumping mind issues and giving mind issues the validation of an illness. In other words, they're saying you have to make mind problems into an illness in order to validate them, which is insane, because when you throw mind out the door, which they did 60 years ago, and you just focus on brain and you try and treat anxiety from a pandemic as though it was an illness like diabetes, you've missed the boat. Because then you want to put it in a little box, wrap it up, give it a label, give it a medication, and now you must get better. But it doesn't, because we're dealing with a 90 to 99% of this huge individual response that each of us has, and the collective response that each of us is having to this massive change in our lives. And that's very anxiety provoking. And we can't just say that everyone's now ill. So the pandemic that's coming after this, like you so rightly say, is one of how are we going to teach the humans to manage their mind so that they don't freak out? Or we're going to have over-medicated people, or people living under another label. There's no logic to saying to you, you have a clinical depression because you've gone through COVID. No, you've gone through COVID. You don't have a clinical depression. You're depressed. It's so important. It's the 90 to 99% who you are. It doesn't need a medical label to validate it. Let me validate the depression you're feeling right now. Let me validate your anxiety. What worries me with the approach that's coming up is sticking people into the box of you have an illness. We're not going to treat it properly. We're going to tell people that we don't have enough resources. Meanwhile, we can help each other. Collectivistically, we can help each other process through. So we shift the whole view and see us as humans collectively going through this trauma. Some are going to experience it this way, some that way. It's all individualistic, but we can come together.
Big
we can handle it differently.
Just win all the way around.
Exactly.
With, not only the medicine, the vaccines, but from a psychiatric standpoint, you're going to get a label, anxiety, depression, and then end up on an anti-anxiety drug that is
damage your brain.
Increases the incidence of Alzheimer's disease.
Exactly.
An antidepressant that you won't be able to stop. And I'm not opposed to medicine. I'm just opposed to it's the first and the only thing people do. And in that way, they don't do the work of really learning how to manage their minds.
It's once again, to go back to what we were talking about before, one of the things when the kids freaked out when this first happened, they just freaked out. I mean, their lives came to a screeching halt. Our daughter was 16, just got her driver's license, her first job, and it's like the end of the world. The sky is falling. And one thing that we did with them right off the bat, and it's what works for me, is they have to have something to do that's empowering.
Exactly.
So you've got to put your energy into something empowering, focus on something that you can do that gives you at least the sense of control. Do you know what I'm saying? You've got to have a sense of control. So over something, your own life, your own actions, your own decisions, at least.
I love that, because that's what we were talking about right in the beginning, that the uncertainty that we need to accept, that's the first step in getting control. Because as soon as I'm aware of my uncertainty, then I'm on the path to empowerment, because now I can start controlling. And I love what you said, because you can do little things, get some purpose. We know from Dan Buttner's work, we know from global work, that as soon as you have a purpose and a passion, you're going to be more in control. You're going to handle all these wobblies, and that connection, that deep, meaningful connection that happens with each other can then grow as well, alongside the passion and the purpose.
Absolutely. No one likes certainty better than I do. I mean, I'm like literally the epitome of a person who loves certainty. So put me in the middle of a pandemic and there goes certainty, right? So shut down the whole world and there goes certainty.
It's really it's an illusion. What's leading is the illusion.
Right.
Of certainty.
There's no certainty.
Because
there isn't.
Of this piece that C.S. Lewis wrote in 1948 about the atomic bomb. And if you just replace COVID-19, he said, basically the scientists have figured out yet one more way for you to die a painful death when you already have thousands.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, that's such a good quote.
If the virus comes, it should find us doing sensible and human things. When we come back, we're going to talk. And Carolyn, what I would love for you to give our listeners are just the most practical tips you have learned over the last 38 years of helping people have better brains and better minds. Stay with us.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com, or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.